Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, Films and Stuff. We are coming to you from the first week of autumn, no longer summer.
That's right. Well, yes, that's correct. That's absolutely right. So even though it's the second week of September, the first week of September ended with a bang. I'm sure you must have heard we had National Cinema Day in the U.S.
I did not hear that.
Oh, you missed
That's
out.
a thing?
So,
National Cinema Day?
Yes. So the Theater Association in the United States created basically not an official holiday, but an unofficial holiday. Almost every cinema across the country on the 3rd of September charged $3 for every showing. A last hurrah for the summer and also a way to boost viewership because by saying, hey, listen, our tickets are normally, I think the average in the U.S. is like $9.25 or so across the U.S. on average. So they said, listen, we're basically 70% off. Come in, watch a movie, grab some popcorn, escape the heat, and get in on the summer box office. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, man, I definitely would have done that. Let's remind everyone next year. That's definitely something we don't want to miss.
That's right. So it came to my attention after recording last week, and it was something that slipped my mind. I had heard of the rumors, but it wasn't confirmed. So, of course, now it's too late, but we'll keep that in mind for next year. I think it was a very, very big success in terms of attendance. And I imagine that this is something that the National Theaters Association or whatever that cinema association is in the United States will want to keep that going in the future because it really was a boon for the box office. And we actually saw a resurgence after quite a few weeks away from being number one on the box office. Top Gun Maverick came screaming back and took back first place again.
God bless Top Gun Maverick, huh?
Indeed.
Really saved the entire summer box office.
You raise a good point. Let's do a recap. Why don't we do a recap of our predictions?
Why don't you read off your top 10? Because you were quite on the money for many
I think
of them.
we both were. I think I would say that we had a good run. My top 10 prediction was in order from 1 to 10. Thor, Love and Thunder, Jurassic World, Doctor Strange, Top Gun 2, Minions 2, Nope, DC League of Super Pets, Elvis, Bullet Train, and Lightyear. And remember, I specifically put Lightyear in last because before it came out, it was already starting to get banned in a lot of countries in the Middle East and in East Asia. So there was a lot of negative press about it. And I thought that the American domestic gross would not be strong enough to support a worldwide ranking.
I think when I look at your list, that is a very, very good list in terms of what you really thought was going to be the best, the highest grossing films. I feel like my list is a little bit, except for Top Gun, is a list of how good the films are going to be. But here's my top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that revisionist. That's not really what I wanted, or that's not really what I predicted, but I'm just saying based on the differences. I had Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness number 1, Thor, Love and Thunder 2, Minions 3, Lightyear 4. And I'd like to point out, those top 4 were not the best 4, but they did largely follow the ranking between those 4. Then I had Top Gun 5. So that's on me. I should have moved that up to number 1. I had Jurassic World Dominion 6, Bullet Train, Hustle. What is Hustle?
That's the basketball movie with Adam Sandler on Netflix.
Yes. Then I've got Elvis 9. You had it 8. And then my wild card was Day Shift on Netflix with Jamie Foxx, Snoop Dogg, and Dave Franco's brother.
No, just James Franco's brother. This is the same mistake you
Dave
made last time.
Dave Franco himself, James Franco's brother.
That's right.
My big mistake was Top Gun. That's the only one I really wish I could take back.
Well,
you read out how these.
I think that, I don't think either of us saw it happening on the scale that it did because, first of all,
it was an amazing movie, by the way.
It was a great movie. I think, first of all, you have to remember, one of the things our listeners have to remember is that this is based on worldwide numbers, not domestic. If this were domestic, the list order would be different. And I think we would have structured it differently on purpose. And Top Gun has always been a pseudo recruiting tool for the U.S. Armed Forces, right? This is, it's almost like this is what life could be if you were Tom Cruise in the Navy today. And it's, we saw that after the first Top Gun came out in 86, you saw a massive surge in naval applications because of that movie. That kind of success would not necessarily translate globally. So that's why, that's why we had suggested that Top Gun would do well, but maybe not necessarily globally. So
I think that movie though, I hope you agree, that movie was so good, it even exceeded my greatest expectations.
It was. And hilariously enough, if you go back, for listeners who have been with us for long enough, will remember when we recapped Mission Impossible, we lamented the fact that Tom Cruise never had a $1 billion movie. And we said that of all the A-list stars, it was a shocker to us that there were movies like Jurassic World on that $1 billion list, but none of Tom Cruise's movies on that list.
Don't get me started on Jurassic World. Yeah. I know you're going to get me started, but do not get me started.
We're going to have to. All right. So without further ado, why don't we talk about the actual results?
Let's talk about the actual results.
Number one.
This is worldwide box office revenue, right?
Correct. Yep. Worldwide. And these numbers I pulled from thenumbers.com. So, if we're wrong, you can blame them. Number one global movie of the summer was, which kicked off, if I remember correctly, either March 1st or April 1st. I can't remember, but it was like it wasn't what we would normally consider a summer blockbuster, a summer kickoff based on actual, calendar year. But anyway, the number one movie of 2022 summer box office, Top Gun Maverick with $1.44 billion worldwide.
Well deserved.
Really a good movie. I think if you've heard our review, you know exactly the problems we had with it. But in general, we both agreed that this was a stellar movie through and through.
Stellar movie.
Quite possibly the exemplar of how legacy sequels, if not all sequels, should be made.
I cried.
It was fantastic.
Simply put, we should have a new rating system. Did Ethan tear up?
Then our second most successful movie this summer, Jurassic World Dominion, with $998 million.
I find this to be fraudulent. I find this to be absolutely fraudulent. In the history of Jurassic Park, I've really tried to defend this franchise. This movie was just honestly garbage.
Yeah. Then you had
I just want to say one more statement because I'm so frustrated by this movie. I think that this only was popular because it only generated this amount of money because of brand name recognition, and it must have been the only thing in theaters, and people just went to it.
Yeah.
Because nothing about the cinematic qualities of it justified to be a $1 billion movie.
Certainly. Then you had number 3, Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, with $952 million, which, if you remember correctly, when it first came out, all the critics said that this movie was a box office flop. And with all due respect to those critics, $952 million is not a flop by any circumstances, and certainly not for a character. This has nothing to do with Benedict Cumberbatch, who's excellent, but with a character who is, for all intents and purposes, a B or C tier character within the comic universe. Yeah. That's a huge deal.
Can we say something about Strange MOM though?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if you're at MCU, like you're kind of breathing a sigh of relief. You know, it's kind of like, okay, like we basically got $1 billion, like we all keep our jobs yet, you know? I think they probably wanted like this to be 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, like the good old days. I think $1 billion was really the minimum they could have brought in and still kind of kept their jobs. I don't think anyone in the Strange world is really celebrating this. I think they're breathing a sigh of relief and they're kind of like, yeah, that's kind of the score we needed to get.
I think it does two things. One, I think it solidifies, at least in the mind of Disney, it solidifies that Benedict Cumberbatch is the de facto leader of the MCU going forward, because his results far outpaced even Thor, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So I think it confirms that, okay, we no longer have Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. We no longer have, Chris
Evans.
Chris Evans as Captain America. So who's going to be our anchor point that everyone likes in the MCU? I think this solidifies that for Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah. And two, I think it also comes down to budget. I think the budget for Doctor Strange was far less than it was for example, Thor. And so, which further proves that, at least in Disney's mind, that you don't need to spend $300 million to make a movie that's profitable, at least this profitable. And again, I think that, again, we're going to talk about that with Thor. That's where it really boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Doctor Strange in third place. In fourth place, we had Minions: The Rise of Gru with $894 million. Not a shocker to me because, again, the Minions are the Minions. It's a summer movie. It was one of the first few children's movies, animated movies that released this summer. And, everyone loves Despicable Me. Everyone loves Minions. So it wasn't a shock to me.
We're going to get another Minions movie in 2 years.
Almost certainly within the next 5 years, we're going to see a Minions 3. Almost certainly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you had Thor, number 5. This was the shocker for me. Thor: Love and Thunder with $749 million, placing it that's almost exactly $200 million less than Doctor Strange. That's a massive disappointment. And again, it sounds weird and odd to say it's a disappointment for a movie that made $750 million to be a disappointment box office wise. But considering they spent like almost $500 million, or so let's say $400 million making this movie, yes, it's a disappointment, because that means that at $750 million, they probably just about broke even or just made a little bit of money on this movie. So in terms of financially, not that great. Critically, not that great.
I guess the way that I look at it also is that, there's the money itself, right? And this is all could be like a little bit fuzzy accounting. So, let's not get too bent out of shape over it. But I think there's also an emotional aspect of this, right? Which is when you left the theater, Thor: Love and Thunder, was the overall audience sentiment like, that was amazing. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
And the answer is, that I think that's the bigger problem. Like if it's 749, you could argue like, there was bad weather, the release schedule,
absolutely,
blah, blah, blah. But, and you could justify it somehow. But that's half of Ragnarok. And Ragnarok, I left Ragnarok like saying, whoa, I wish that never would have ended. If that movie was another hour, I gladly would have sat through that movie. Thor: Love and Thunder, like it started slow and it continued slow. And by the time it ended, I was already like packing up my tissues and packing up my everything. And I was ready to go,
Yeah.
And I think that's really the problem, which is emotionally, I don't think that anyone left still hungry for more Thor. And definitely no one left, like this new storyline now with his potential daughter. I don't think anyone's like, oh my God, I've got to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
There's
I think that's the other thing that the MCU really has a reckoning with, is because they're so now devoid of superstars.
Yeah.
So there's two comments I have with the MCU, right? So one is because of that, they've kind of focused on building up a younger stable of talent. It's almost like the minor league. Like in every one of the movies and TV shows, you've got a younger new Hawkeye. You've got a younger new superstar, not superstar, but star in America Chavez in Doctor Strange 2, right? Because she's going to be the younger one there. Mm-hmm. In Black Panther 2, we're going to be introduced to Ironheart, who's going to be like supposed to be the new iteration of Iron Man. You've got on one hand the MCU basically saying, okay, let's build up our stable of talent for the next couple of phases. Kind of like what we did with the first phase, right? Yeah. And so what we'll do is we'll restock our talent with really young actors so that we can kind of hold on to them for as long as possible. And I think their mentality right now is kind of becoming like a sports team. So I don't know if you saw this, but there are rumors that for the next phase of the MCU, Disney has signed contracts with John Krasinski, and like they named a bunch of A-list superstars, right? And that announcement on Twitter, it felt really like what you would see at like the NFL Combine or at like the trading day of like a baseball team. It almost felt like they were announcing their roster for the next phase. Kind of like, forget about the DC Extended Universe. They're all in rough shape there. If you want to talk about a superstar, superhero team, you should stick to Team Marvel instead of Team DC. We've just signed these 5 A-list actors, and they're really going at it. It really made me feel like I was watching a draft day or a combine, and they were like, okay, well, these are the guys that we're signing. And, we've signed 10-year contracts with them. It was quite impressive, actually. So it's a bit of a mixed metaphor, I know, but I figured that, you'd appreciate that given the sports analogy.
I do appreciate anything that has NFL Combine.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, that was Thor number 6. Go on.
So let's just say the top 5 are dramatically more dramatically higher revenue. And once you get between 5 and 6,
almost $500 million less.
$500 million.
That's right. And you raised that point earlier, and that, I didn't even think of that, but you're right. It's a precipitous drop. And I think it just goes to show you the stakes that are involved with these movies, right? I mean, even in the top 10, you're talking about a difference between the number 1 movie and the number 10 movie. We're talking about a difference of $1.2 billion. That's crazy in a span of 5 months. That's insane.
I mean, but this is something that I've also read about, which is, we've lost kind of the middle class of movies.
Yeah.
Like even when you watch, I remember watching Stranger Things a few weeks ago, and there was like this mall scene, and they showed like what movies are playing. There were like 5 good movies playing, right?
At the same time.
Yes, at the same time. And now the problem is that there's the big 5, and they've all kind of got their release 2-month period, right? And then everything else is kind of like a filler.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem that we're going to have to deal with not only for the cinema chains, but also for moviegoers, which is, I'm not going to 25 movies a year anymore. I know you are. Because there's not that many good movies in the cinemas, right? Yeah. Thor: Love and Thunder's got its 2-month period. Minions has its 2 months. Strange has 2 months. Jurassic has 2 months. Top Gun has 2 months. We haven't seen anything in a while. Bullet Train, okay, but like you said, it's these top 5 that are eating everything.
Yeah. It's kind of like once they announce that this is the date this movie is coming out, everybody's like, okay, well, we have to avoid the weekend before, 2 weekends before, and 3 to 4 weekends after, and then let's put our movie in. It's because people are saying, I know I've put together a good movie in Bullet Train, and I know that it's going to be a commercial success, but I don't want to be overshadowed by Jurassic World or Minions or whatever it is. I'm giving you random examples. But the idea is, okay, so the top 5 movies, we kind of nailed it in terms of our predictions, right? In the top 5.
Yeah.
The order may be wrong or incorrect, but our top 5 was not too dissimilar from the real world top 5 in terms of prediction.
Yeah.
And I think when the two of us are able to do that...
You had all 5 in your top 5 in a slightly different order. I had 5 in my top 6. I had Jurassic World at 6.
Yeah.
In terms of revenue, that's wrong. In terms of quality,
probably
that's absolutely
correct.
right.
Yeah. And so I think that, when Disney and Paramount and Warner Brothers announced that these are the movies that we're putting out this summer and these are the release dates, every other studio says, well, okay, there's no way I can release Morbius on July 4th weekend because I know Morbius isn't going to do well compared to Top Gun.
Oh, dude, that's crazy. Morbius is not even in the top 10 here.
Oh, no. First of all, it wasn't a summer movie. And second of all, even if it were a summer movie, I don't think it would have come close. I think it would have just been... I don't remember what the number was, but at least critically, it shouldn't be anywhere near this list.
Wow, not even top 10?
Oh, maybe, but I don't know what the numbers were. Honestly, it was such a bad movie that I stopped following it altogether.
It was released April 1st.
Yeah.
It had 17 million day 1, 13 million day 2. I mean, it just plummeted after that.
Yeah.
It had an opening weekend, and that's it. Even shockingly, you want to know a crazy statistic? Morbius opening day, 17 million. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 opening day, 26 million.
There you go. It probably made more money in that one day than Morbius did in that weekend.
Whoa.
So, going back to our list just quickly, number 6, Elvis with 282 million. Number 7, Lightyear with 219 million. Number 8, Bullet Train with 199 million.
Hold on, can we stop by Bullet Train?
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a superb disappointment for the Bullet Train team?
I don't think so. I don't remember what the budget
Really?
is. I don't know what the budget is, but I imagine that the budget was very low or relatively low. And I think in terms of the type of movie it is, which is to say an older, let's say more mature leading man doing an action sequence, it seems about right. It's kind of like the Nobody. It's kind of like the John Wick. Less stylish.
How much does John Wick generate? I will look it up right now. You go on with your top 10. Let me look this up, and then we'll reconvene, yeah?
Okay, and then number 9, DC League of Super Pets with 162 million. And number 10, Nope, also with 162 million, but I think just short a couple 100,000 behind that. Now, I will caveat this list by saying that with some exceptions, like Top Gun, the strongest performers on this list were also released earlier in the summer, so they had a longer runway. So, for example, of all of these movies, Bullet Train and Nope, for example, and DC League of Super Pets were released most recently, so they had a shorter runway. So you take that with a grain of salt, but then, when you're talking about a difference of $500 million, it's not the runway at that point. It's not the length of time in the theater.
All right, so here's worldwide box office for John Wick. The original 2014,
76,
8 years ago,
yeah,
76 million. The Chapter 2 had 171.
Yeah.
Parabellum had 327.
Yeah, there you go. So it's not, so when you say $200 million, $199 million, that's in the ballpark. Right?
It probably earns a sequel. Exactly.
Right? It earns a sequel. And then, of course, that sequel will be just like what happened with John Wick and Chapter 2.
Yeah.
The transition between John Wick 1 and John Wick 2 is that it will also be slightly more over the top. It'll also be a little bit more stylish. It'll also have more A-list stars in it. And when that happens, that $199 million that the first one earned will probably translate to $400 million in the second. Just based on the numbers, as you've already reached that assumption, and I think correctly, which is to say that the executives behind it are probably thinking, hey, we made $200 million on the first time with Brad Pitt in this kind of role. The sequel, whoever it is, even if it's not Brad Pitt, the numbers alone, if we get some A-list stars, whoever it's going to be, I think will be warranting a sequel.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see Bullet Train. You saw it, right?
No, not yet. It's on my watch list.
I have to say, I thought the trailer was quite bad. I think they should have recut the trailer. Brad Pitt is funny, and he's charismatic.
Great. He's great.
I thought that trailer was really. It seemed like a trailer for like an Adam Sandler movie. I just thought the jokes were like the lowest common denominator. Mm-hmm. I think they could have tightened that up a little bit and had a much better trailer, and I would have been more enthusiastic for it.
Right.
Anyway, neither here nor there. That is our summer predictions. What do we have for autumn?
You know, if you look at the list of upcoming movies, you've got a few like rom-com style, like Ticket to Paradise. You've got
I do want to see that.
A few action movies. You've got Black Adam. You've got Black Panther. Also, Avatar's coming out. Then you've got a few quirkier movies. You've got things like Amsterdam. You've got See How They Run. You've got the sequel to Knives Out. That's coming out, although that's a direct-to-Netflix movie, maybe not necessarily a cinema movie, but still. So there's quite a few quirky movies.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are actually very, very, I think Black Adam and Avatar are highly, and Scream is coming out again, right? I think those two are like really going to be big movies.
I mean, I don't know how well Black Adam will do. Every time they release a trailer for it, I get disappointed. I think it's going to be not good.
The Rock is so likable, though. He's so likable.
But that's my point, is for such a likable guy, they've given him, or he has chosen such an unlikable D-bag of, Black Adam was a villain originally. He becomes kind of like a pseudo good guy, but he's not really. And when you are The Rock and you can choose any superhero you want in any platform you want, it's a shock to me that he would go out of his way to choose a bad guy.
The Rock is also not a super young guy anymore, right? I mean,
no,
he's
exactly
totally jacked for a guy his age, but he's not really that young anymore. Does he have a lot of options objectively for someone to say, hey, we want to build a franchise around you? Does he have a 10-year run? I mean, he's J.K. Simmons in 10 years, right?
Maybe 20 years. Does he have a 10-year run? Can he put together 3 to 4 more movies as the same role in a franchise? Absolutely. I definitely think he can. Would he have had a better run in terms of physical presence 10 years ago? I also agree to that. But my feeling is that he has a lot of star power and negotiating power. And Warner Brothers doesn't. Like, they don't have that leverage. David Zaslav, for all his strength, does not have that leverage with the DC universe. I think
what character is there for him, though? I mean, maybe that's the problem, is that a lot of the characters have been...
You know who he could have been? And this is going to be controversial. He could have been Green Lantern. He could have been one of the original 7 founders of the Justice League. They have a black Green Lantern. I don't know why they didn't go with him. And then you kind of sweep away the Ryan Reynolds thing. And frankly speaking, Green Lantern is a way more compelling character and a way more important character than freaking Black Adam.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point. I mean, because I agree, like, 5 years ago, I mean, if he would have taken a character, he'd have really be established by now and he could be writing that out.
Yeah,
Dude,
I mean,
I love The Rock, but
I
have to say, we're getting very close to Brad Pitt, the John Wick. What's the other guy who plays?
Bob Odenkirk and nobody.
Yeah. And what's the other guy? His daughter's always being
Liam Neeson.
Taken. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, he's not at that age, clearly not. And even if he were, he's in such good physical shape. He works out so much that he can extend that life. But my question to him is, when you have the ability to really grab DC by the cojones and say, this is what I want to do, why aren't you doing that? Yeah, and for someone who's kind of known for being a super charismatic guy, I truly believe he could have gone in and sat with Walter Hamada at DC and even with David Zaslav at Warner Discovery now and said, this is what I want to do. and you're going to let me do it, and you're going to pay me for it. And you're going to be thankful that I'm doing it, because frankly speaking, there's no one else I can think of right now that isn't already associated with someone else, or with another character, or with another universe, that could have that strength to do that. I think the only other person I can see who can do that right now is Keanu Reeves, but Keanu Reeves isn't going to play a Black Adam style character or like an action superhero. That's not what Keanu Reeves is going to do at this stage in his life. He's going to be more of a cerebral character.
I'm looking at the filmography of Dwayne Johnson, right? The Rock.
Mm-hmm. Not the best. As much as I love the guy, he's carved out a little bit of a niche with Kevin Hart in these buddy cop style movies at the moment. Yeah. I think the last 3 or 4 comedies he's done has been with Kevin Hart, at least over the last 10 years. And that's fine. But even after some time, that kind of wears thin, right? How many times do you want to see them getting in shenanigans together?
I mean, Red Notice, which we went over dramatically, right? Jumanji, there were 2 Jumanjis. We love Jumanji. Ballers, but that's a TV.
Yep.
Fast and Furious, but that's not since 2019. Skyscraper was terrible. Rampage was terrible. Baywatch was pretty terrible. Central Intelligence, yep, that was with Kevin Hart.
Yep.
San Andreas, yeah, we've seen that. So yeah, it was really the Fast and Furious and G.I. Joe. I wish they would have brought back G.I. Joe. It was really only
in terms of
Fast
franchise
and
movies,
Furious.
Absolutely, and even Fast and the Furious that imploded with the Vin Diesel drama. So it's not. If you look at it in terms of franchise, and with someone like The Rock, with an actor like The Rock, that's how you have to think of it, right? You can't look at his career and say, well, he went from strength to strength or from movie to movie. It's not. Yeah. It's because with actors of that kind who kind of rely purely on charisma and who kind of rely purely on physicality, you go from franchise to franchise. That's how you determine success. He's not like a Tom Cruise when you're looking at 12 different roles over 12 different years, and each one of them is stellar because the acting is stellar. With the greatest of respect to The Rock, there's a reason why he hasn't been nominated
Jungle Cruise in 2021. I mean, that's exactly what he should not be doing. He should have taken... I'm really upset about 2021. Okay, I understand he did Jumanji in 2019. I do love Jumanji, but that should have been the end of it. For such a likable guy, his filmography is long, but not amazing.
Not amazing. Okay, so that's our summer box office breakdown. I would say that both of us did a reasonably good job.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of order, really, we got a little, not messed up, but we got a little thrown around by the fact that Top Gun Maverick was much, much more successfully than we anticipated on a global scale.
Yeah.
Jurassic World fell in line with what I expected, which was it was going to be a terrible movie, but because they brought in all the stars back, it carried through with nostalgia.
I have no desire. If they announce another Jurassic Park, and I know that they will, I have zero desire to see it.
I think what they'll do is like a Jurassic Universe, all new characters 10 years from now when everything's kind of died down.
I still think we could write something better where we talked about, I think our idea was, we said it was the reverse, right?
Yeah, that where they bring back
dinosaurs were
some flu or some kind of pandemic because that's some ancient thing.
Yeah, but that really hits that really hits home now, right? Pandemic movies are really...
No, I agree. Maybe not the most appropriate, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like some kind of sickness that results by the fact that, and then we learned that maybe it wasn't the meteors that knocked the dinosaurs out. It was actually this. You know what I mean? Correct. That's what I mean. So
they need to change the narrative. Right now, it's just so like bilateral, right? It's dinosaurs versus humans. Every installment is some type of narrative about that. Some form of
how do we cage the dinosaurs? Correct. How do we trap them? Versus how do we work with them? Exactly. So, okay.
All right, Pete.
That is our results. We did well. Thank you, everyone. If you've got any notes you want to send us or any messages you want to send us about what you think about this summer's box office. Let us know. aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com or tweet at us at FNS Podcast.
We've got updated website, updated logos, updated everything. Please check it out and give us your feedback.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend ahead. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Ethan. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.